It takes more energy for your body to burn and to break down those proteins than it does any other micronutrient. It takes more energy. So that TEF is in your what is called thermal or the TDEE. There's a lot of initials here. It's inside that ratio, and that's how fast your metabolism is. How many calories it takes to keep your body maintaining its weight.
Yeah.
The biggest formula in there is non-exercise activity. So that's parking away from Walmart. And it's also the thermal effect of food. So the protein amount matters, especially if you're doing what those shot folks are not doing, and that's building muscle. They're losing muscle. We're building muscle by that protein amount. So it is so important. Carbs don't matter, period. There's no such thing as an essential carb. That is the only micronutrient in that thing that does not matter. You do not have to have any carbs. You can live on 0 carbs, okay? There is mandatory protein, mandatory fats, okay? So those are your important ones. But it's important to have the correct ratios. Now, it is important to have low carbs when it comes to your macronutrient ratio, because that's going to lower your insulin spikes. It's going to lower your glucose spikes. So the carbs do matter. It's just the lack of carbs are more important, right? And especially if you are therapeutic keto, if you're trying to reverse PCOS, if you're trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, you're trying to reverse the metabolic issues, that formula matters. Okay. So macronutrient consumption, if you've got that off whack, you're not going to lose weight. You're going to have a lot of issues. Wrapping it in one package, calories count. Everyone, calories count. If any keto coach tries to tell you otherwise, there's different formulas of there's different compositions of calories, but calories count. If you're not eating enough, it matters. You're going to crash your metabolism. If you're eating too much, you're going to be gaining weight. So, no energy consumed is no energy output. And I'm talking about good, clean calories. So, those macronutrients count when it comes to the scale falling. So, ask yourself this: am I eating my ratios that my coach gave me? If you're not, why not? For me, I just got lazy. Got lazy. How many of you guys are just lazy and you're not tracking your macros? Right?
Yep.
What's the next one? Is carb creep next?
Yes. We're talking about the hidden carbs or the carb creep. So those what did you say? The BLTs. The BLTs. Is it bite, licks, and taste? Those will creep up on you.
Yeah.
And the reason why we tend to do that is because we are not making our meals count when we are eating a meal. Mm-hmm. We are not utilizing these macronutrients in each meal. You're not getting the full fats. You're not getting enough proteins in each meal. So you are needing to feel like your body's like saying, "Hey, I'm needing something. I need it right now." And usually it's salt, but it's those things that we do. And when we're cooking, we always have to taste the things. When we're sitting, for me, I do this where I'm sitting at my desk and I'm wanting to procrastinate and I just need to get out of my desk area. So then I go and I waltz over to the pantry and grab some almonds. And then I don't track it. Yep. So that is laziness. BLTs. It is also, just out of habit. That's we are trying to feed our brain. I listened to a podcast where they said that people tend to feed their brain more than like cows. They eat to feed their stomach. Mm-hmm. Humans, they eat to feed their brain.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. That's totally good. I don't know. That was the only thing I got out of that. But
it goes along with the podcast we dropped this morning, right? Yeah. Emotional eating.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
can I give you an example of something that blows the minds of our clients now? Garlic powder.
Yes.
Garlic powder. And don't quote me on the number because I didn't look it up, but it's got like 11 carbs in it.
It's a lot.
Our clients get 20 carbs a day. And granted, that's a tablespoon. We're not putting a tablespoon in our mouth, but people get shocked when you add all of those spices. Spices are not carbless, right?
Yes, right.
So you add all of those things into your diet every day, you've got something called carb creep.
Yeah. And people do that. Our clients do that whole shocked factor about even the vegetables that they are used to eating. We've been taught in the past, like, you need to overload on the fruits and vegetables. Like, if you're hungry, eat all these fruits and vegetables. But all those fruits and vegetables add up. And don't get me started on the genetically modified stuff.
Oh, no.
Our foods are so much larger than what our ancestors used to have. We've plumped them up to be sweeter. We plumped them up to be bigger and more like quantity. So
have you seen the size of grapes lately? I'm like, what is in those?
It's like a watermelon.
It's like this is an apple grape? What in the world? What is this? I mean,
so we're being told, oh yeah, eat those fruits and vegetables. But listen, like, they still have carbs.
Yep.
And there's still a certain amount of those carbs that our body needs and doesn't need. That's where the insulin resistance comes in. When we're overfeeding it, our body's going to overproduce the insulin, and in the presence of insulin, you will not lose weight.
Yeah.
So
macronutrients.
Yes.
Macros matter.
Yes.
Carb creep is real. Okay. Yes. What's the next one?
So here's one where this one will sneak up on you if you're not careful.
And this is a sad one. If it's what I think it is.
I don't know if it's it is.
I'll tell you.
I don't think we're on the same page, but it's where it's the lack of sleep.
Oh, yeah.
The lack of sleep. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna pair, since it's a short show, pair stress with that.
Oh,
lack of sleep, and those go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I've literally had several clients and myself, when you have overloaded on the stress, when you have, you stay up late binge watching shows and you don't get adequate amount of sleep, that scale will stall because you are not the cortisol. You're during your sleep. If you're not getting the adequate amount of sleep or good sleep, your body is going to create these hormones that spike your glucose level. And in the morning, you're going to have like this high glucose level and spike your insulin already in the morning.
Yeah. And it prevents you from making the weight loss a hormone, which is the human growth hormone. It prevents you from making that.
Yes. So there's a lot of yes. Talk more about stress, because you seem like you are a walking ball of stress.
So if you're a pastor and you're in our listening audience and you understand the impact of having an altar call that nobody responds to, health coaches have the same thing. I will never forget. And I think you were a coach at the time, but I am like hammering, and I am talking about the impact of cortisol and stress and how it's like licking a lollipop all day long when you're not willing to give up the stress. And I was like preaching. I was like I'm like, everybody's listening to me. I know I'm doing a good job on this. And at the end of the time, I'm like, okay, so if any of you, and I was talking to a very high stressed class. There's a couple from New York, of which I can't coach people from New York. They're not willing to release the stress. No. They are literally...
They live off of it.
They live off of stress. And I don't profile, but my gosh, it's the case.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, so I want to talk to you moms. And I said, I want you to take out your phone. I want you to look at your calendar for the next week. And I want you to remove 3 things from that calendar. It's packed full. All of you moms have a packed full calendar. I want you to remove 3 things. Do you know how many people did it?
I'm going to say 0.
They looked at me like I was an alien. And they're like, but I have to bake brownies for the Johnny's class. I have to do this. Let me tell you, you don't. You can say no. If you are stressed and if you live under a constant 24-hour stress, you will not lose weight. We can give you the miracle macros. We can give you every tool in the book, but if you're not willing to give up that stress, you're not losing weight. Nope. Stress is probably the number one prevention. And what is happening, if I can explain it to my clients and tell them, this is what happens when you release cortisol. It's like you're running away from a tiger all the time. Cortisol is good. God gave it to us because there were tigers chasing our ancestors. But let me tell you, honey, there's no tiger chasing you now. Right. You have a choice to stop this schedule madness. You're not superwoman. You were not called to save the world. You were called to be healthy for them, and you're killing yourself. That is a big one. We're going to go to commercial break, and then you're going to come back and you're going to talk about who cut the cheese.
What do you say? I get you.
You got me.